Hey guys, Noel here, and it is Tuesday afternoon. And while we have a little bit of free time on our hands, I thought it would be fun for us to do a video where we do some movie review action for the Noel ComiX YouTube channel. This will go in the movie and anime review section. Yes, Kumite has become nothing more than a blood sport. What kind of blood sport? It is Bloodsport for the Dark Kumite. So, recently on the channel, Serafina and I reviewed Bloodsport 1 and Bloodsport 2. Then, I reviewed Bloodsport 3 by myself. Santino and I, a couple of years ago, reviewed Yasuaki Kurata's Blood Fight, the unofficial Japanese sequel to Bloodsport. And this means that I am left with no other choice but to review the final Bloodsport movie, Bloodsport for the Dark Kumite. Now, I picked up this movie probably back in 2008, 2009. And my recollections of this movie when I watched it right after I picked it up were very negative. I didn't like it. I got this movie from Eckerd's Drugs for the high price of probably $4, if memory serves me correctly. So when I reviewed Bloodsport 3, I was thinking to myself, you know what, Noel? As I drink out of my JoJo's Bizarre Adventure cup of JoJo mug, you know, I really liked Bloodsport 1, 2, 3, and Blood Fight, but I'm not going to like Bloodsport 4, because I remember watching it and not liking it. But the other night, when I sat down and I watched this movie, I was pleasantly surprised that this movie is a lot more enjoyable than I remember it. It's awkward. It's awkwardly acted. It has the worst fight choreography out of any of the Bloodsport movies. But let's put this into context here, okay? Bloodsport 1 is the greatest movie ever made, and it's got fantastic fight choreography. Yasuaki Kurata's Blood Fight, the unofficial Japanese sequel to Bloodsport, that's got some really good fight choreography in the return of Chong Li. Bloodsport 2 is the return of Ray Jackson, and some really, really good fight choreography. Some people even prefer the fight choreography to Bloodsport 2 over Bloodsport 1. Not me, but people do. Then there's Bloodsport 3. Now, the budgets for Bloodsport get smaller and smaller and smaller, and as they do, the Kumites become less and less impressive. And Bloodsport 3, you definitely had a less charismatic group of Kumite fighters, and the audience of the Kumite in Bloodsport 3 was just a bunch of random, like, Indian dudes that just were kind of sitting in the crowd clapping in unison, you know, which was fine, but it definitely looked lower budget. The ramp was smaller. And pretty much every Bloodsport, 1 through 3, all kind of had a similar plot structure of noble martial artist fights an underground tournament. But Bloodsport 4 decides to kind of go a little bit of a different route, and they decide to make this an edgy, dark, turn of the 20th century cop movie that kind of borrows some of its aesthetics from Face Off, maybe a little bit of the Matrix thrown in there with some of the long, dark trench coats. There's a lot of weird, Gilded Age violence and sexiness and brown tones and stuff like that in this movie. And I will tell you that the Kumite in this movie, like in Bloodsport 3, is not spread out, throughout the movie. It's all like one big climactic Kumite, and this has the smallest cast of characters, a little bit more memorable, and right here is a big theme in the movie here.
Killer, take the shot. You got him.
Go ahead, take the fucking shot. Okay, Shrek? This can be win-win. Lower your gun, and we all walk out here alive.
There is a recurring theme in this movie of pen stabbing. Like, seriously. The recurring theme in this movie is take the shot and kill someone with the pen. Like, for whatever reason, the people that made this movie thought that that was money. All right. So let's talk a little bit more about Bloodsport for the Dark Kumite. So, as in Bloodsports 2 and 3, Daniel Bernhardt returns in Bloodsport 4. However, he is now playing Alex Cordeau, the very cool new protagonist that is the successor to Frank Dukes. He's playing a cop called John Keller. Now, he has a sexy female police officer girlfriend. They are going after this evil Russian MMA dude who was on death row, who just killed that lady cop with a pen. And, you know, Keller, Daniel Bernhardt, had put him away on death row, but he mysteriously escaped from death row. How did he escape from death row? Well, that's really the plot of this whole movie, because what's going to end up happening is Keller is going to go under deep cover in prison and meet a really weird cast of characters. There's a kind of really weird, kind of jacked, good martial artist, black dude, but he's kind of creepy and weird. There is a really skinny, bald guy that looks like Daniel Castellaneta from The Simpsons. He's like, looks like he's 100 pounds soaking wet, but he's somehow in this martial arts tournament. There's a creepy, weird guy with rotten teeth and frizzy hair. And then there's this evil Russian martial arts dude who is basically the big boss of the fighters that is the evil that must be overcome. Or is he? As in Bloodsport 3, which had John Rhys Davies, the fat professor from Sliders, there is an evil mastermind behind this Kumite, this Dark Kumite, and his name is Evil Ben Franklin. I'm not joking. His name is Caesar, and he looks like an evil Ben Franklin that is flanked with piles of sexy Russian women. Like, this is a thing. Like, the bad guy in this movie is evil Ben Franklin with Eastern European female arm candy just hanging from the walls, literally. So, you know, I mean, I'm telling you, like, watching this, you know, a couple years later, you know, I was thinking to myself, man, I remember this movie really not being good, and as I'm watching it, I can kind of enjoy the absurdity and grittiness of the situation in this movie. Now, one more thing. While this movie does try to be artsy and sexy and violent, it also lacks pretension, because literally I think this thing probably cost about $500 to make. Maybe $1,000. I don't know. I'm not trying to be condescending. I'm just saying, like, this does not have a huge cast of characters here. Okay? The Kumite ramp in this movie, which, by the way, the Kumite, and there's just going to be some spoilers here, so turn this off if you don't want to hear spoilers. But, I mean, come on. This is like a sub-B movie review, so, and synopsis, so enjoy. Okay, so the Kumite takes place at the mansion of Evil Ben Franklin, and the fighting ramp looks like a gigantic king-size mattress with a yin-yang symbol in the middle of it. And the fighters are in cages, not like UFC cages, like literal, like, cages, like animals that open up and then they go to fight. They fight to the death, because this is the Dark Kumite. And the audience, there might be about 20 people in the audience. I'm not joking. Like, in all the other blood sports, they just paid extras. Like, you know, flanks, you know, like, get like about like 500 people from Hong Kong or Sri Lanka or whatever, and put them in the audience and have them have various degrees of personality. This, literally, you have basically a handful of Eastern European women wearing Marie Antoinette-style dresses and some random creepy gangster dudes. Like, and there's probably about 20 in total. So that's the Kumite. Now, I gotta tell you, and this might sound weird, as big a fan as I am of the Kumite fights in Bloodsport, there really is not that, like, this Kumite is not that well executed, I gotta tell you. They're very clearly pulling their punches, and the fight choreography is nothing that spectacle-oriented, right? I mean, like, in the first Bloodsport, you could look at it and say, well, some of these fighting styles aren't very realistic. You got a guy hopping around like a frog. You got a guy kicking someone in the face and he's flying off in a weird angle. But the fighting looked really pretty and cool. The fighting here is like guys doing MMA and really, really not hitting very hard. You'll see an arm bar here and there. You'll see people snapping each other's necks, which is not part of real MMA. You shouldn't be doing that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, the lead up to the Bloodsport, the lead up to the Kumite, is reasonably enjoyable. I want to kind of keep this review going long enough. Well, I'm going to give you a little bit of a sample of some of the acting in this movie here.
He's yours. But this is not unconditional love, John. There's a catch.
What? My attitude?
No vigilante bullshit, John. You're still a cop. We work together on this. Clear?
Clear.
Blair?
Yeah.
Shrek was being transferred to a state facility.
Oh yeah, Shrek is the evil Russian MMA dude.
He killed 3 guards.
I actually forgot about that. Anyway, there is this hilarious scene in this movie where, like, okay, so this is how they end up getting Daniel Bernhardt to go to jail. He goes into deep cover, right? So he fakes killing 2 cops out of rage, okay? Because he's beating up Shrek, and these cops come in and he shoots them, right? And they act like they're dead. So then he goes on trial and is publicly sentenced to this like really sleazebag evil jail, right? But the guy playing the judge, he acts so awkwardly and over the top. It's simultaneously like one of the best things you've ever seen, and I'm not saying I didn't enjoy this scene, and I'm not saying it's so bad it's good, but there was no plane of existence where what this judge is doing is competent acting. I mean, it works for this movie, but it's unintentionally funny. He's like, and I sentence you to life in prison. And like, I'm gonna try to keep this review going until we get to this scene. I'm watching this on Tubi because sadly my Bloodsport for the Dark Kumite DVD went missing. So you can actually find this DVD on Amazon for not a lot of money, shockingly, and you can find this for free on Tubi. There's also Bloodsport 4 DVDs that you can get in sets on Amazon that come with Bloodsport 1, 2, and 3. So I'm pretty interested in checking those out. Now, what might be interesting is if, they did decide to do a Bloodsport 5, which I don't think they're going to do. They did recently do the Bloodsport Redux or Redux fan trailer. That's trying more to be like a sequel of the original Bloodsport. So, that's fantastic. But if Daniel Bernhardt was ever to return to the Bloodsport franchise, what they should do is do something like Double Team, right? Where you have Alex Cordeau being played by Daniel Bernhardt, and then you have John Keller being played by Daniel Bernhardt, and then you do like a twin type thing, like Double Team, and you have like those 2 Daniel Bernhardt characters working together, I don't know, to go solve some crime, or go win an Kumite, or something like that, or maybe one of them gets beaten up by the bad guy, and the other one has to come and avenge him. So, I don't know, I think that would be a lot of fun. So, there's some ads happening here on Tubi. So I'm gonna close this review. I'm gonna wind down this review, just enough so we can get to that fantastic judge scene. Because I really don't want to oversell it. Because there's no overselling this thing. It's literally the greatest and most awkward piece of cinema that I've ever seen. So it's good stuff. I'm gonna just take a sip out of my hot cup of Jojo. That's good stuff. you know, Daniel Bernhardt really is a competent martial artist, and his fight in this movie against Shrek is quite good. Oh, by the way, well, before I close out this review, I feel like I also must say the climax of this movie is quite satisfying. So, and again, spoilers here. So, Daniel Bernhardt and all the Kumite fighters are basically fake executed in the prison and then driven up to the mountains to go compete in this evil Kumite. Well, his cool cop partner finds out the location, and right as Bernhardt is about to die, hold on 1 second here. Oh, it's still a commercial here. Right as Bernhardt is about to die, his cool lady cop friend goes and starts blasting, and the cops start blasting all the bad guys in the Kumite. Well, Daniel Bernhardt, John Keller, has to take the shot one more time as evil Ben Franklin, gets his girlfriend at gunpoint. And this time, he does take the shot, and it is actually pretty satisfying. But what's even more satisfying is when you think that this thing is happening right here.
This court finds you guilty, John Keller, for the aggravated and unprovoked murders of 2 law enforcement officers. I'm recommending a life-term sentence without parole. You'll be remanded to the maximum security penitentiary, Fuego Penal!
John Keller, a decorated SWAT officer for this city, now a convicted murderer, is to serve out the rest of his life in prison. An isolated tragedy or an early warning to high-stress law enforcement.
Fun fact, I don't think that girl actually understands what she's reading. I think she's just phonetically reading English. I don't know. So yeah, good stuff. What I was going to say is the Daniel Castellaneta fighter is actually an undercover mole for another branch of law enforcement, and you think he dies in the Kumite. But even though he gets shot, he somehow comes back and is randomly shooting a machine gun at bad guys uselessly. And then, like, the 3 good guys all walk together off into the sunset as all the evil Kumite people lie in a pool of blood. Oh, by the way, in closing, evil Ben Franklin has a very attractive, girlfriend in this movie. So, she's good people. She's good stuff. So definitely you can enjoy a pretty lady while you're watching this movie. I also should say before I go, there is this weird trend in this movie of putting religious art in the background of weird, awkward B-movie sexiness. Like, there's legitimately one scene where there's a love scene with a spinning bed that is literally flanked by, like, Byzantine mosaics of various lesser-known saints. It's very weird. I don't really know what they were going for in this movie. So how would I evaluate Bloodsport for the Dark Kumite? Well, I gave Bloodsport an infinity out of 10, because it's literally the greatest movie ever. I gave Bloodsport 2 a 30 out of 10, because it's fantastic and it's so good. I gave Bloodsport 3, I think, a 7 or 8 out of 10. And I'm going to give Bloodsport for the Dark Kumite a 6 to 6.5 out of 10. It is definitely not as good as Bloodsport 3. It's awkward, but it is also entertaining, and I have developed an affection for this movie, which I originally did not have. So yeah, this is Bloodsport for the Dark Kumite. Until next time, guys, my name is Noel. You take care, and I will see you in the very near future for more anime and movie reviews. You all take care. Bye-bye.
I have one rule in my prison.